Edgar Cayce, a modern-day prophet as he's called. His 14,000 psychic readings are all preserved.
Edgar Cayce, born in 1877, had an unusual childhood. While other children played, Edgar immersed himself in the pages of the Bible, searching for answers in ancient texts. At the age of 11, he had an experience that would change his life forever. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of his extraordinary journey of prophecies and visions, laying the foundation for a legacy that would resonate for generations. During his life, Edgar made many prophecies about the fate of the world, and one of them is being fulfilled. Let's join us in exploring the mysteries that this prophet has revealed. The night started of every fate. From an early age, Edgar spoke of visions of beings resembling fairies, which he described as more spiritual than human. At the age of 11, he had an experience that would change his life forever. A woman appeared to him in a vision and asked him what he desired most. Edgar's answer was surprising. He wanted the power to help others, especially sick children. Edgar struggled with his studies, and his poor grades worried his father, who constantly reprimanded him. During one of these moments of discouragement, a sad and dejected Edgar lay down and once again heard the voice of that mysterious woman. She suggested that he sleep with his head resting on his textbooks. Astonishingly, by following this advice, Edgar discovered that he could remember everything he read. One day at school, Edgar suffered a serious accident that severely injured his back, leaving him unable to move. His desperate family feared the worst. One night, while he was half asleep, Edgar muttered about a medicinal recipe made from herbs. His parents, desperate to help him, decided to try the recipe. To everyone's surprise, Edgar completely recovered the next day, as if the accident had never happened. These events were the first signs of Edgar's extraordinary abilities, which would later reveal themselves in an impressive way. Edgar nearly became famous for his predictions about global events such as the start and end of the two world wars, the end of the Great Depression. He also predicted the rise of China as a global economic power and the collapse of communism in Europe. Although some predictions did not come true, such as the return of Jesus by the year 2000, his prophetic abilities attracted both admiration and controversy. Many still wonder if Edgar was truly a prophet. Driven by a desire to help others and with renewed confidence in his abilities, Edgar began offering psychic readings. The anger from Nature Mother. Edgar Cayce made impressive predictions about changes in the Earth's geography. He claimed that the continents would shift and the climate would change the world in unimaginable ways. He suggested that this transformation could happen suddenly with the eruptions of Mount Etna in Italy and Mount Pelée in Martinique. Both are active volcanoes, with Etna being one of the most active in the world, having erupted recently, while Pelée had its last major eruption in 1902. One of the most critical aspects of this change would occur in Africa. Cayce predicted that the continent would split into 3 parts due to the formation of a massive new waterway, with the Nile River widening and the Red Sea expanding significantly. This dramatic change could even submerge the bustling city of Cairo under the sea. Asia would not escape these convulsions either. Cayce predicted changes in the geography of India, China, Japan, Korea, and the Philippines. He stated that the Pacific Ocean would advance and swallow large portions of land from the Philippines to Japan, leaving only a few remaining islands. The Korean peninsula and parts of China's coastline would also succumb to the rising seas. For India, Cayce issued a specific warning. He advised seeking refuge in the country's higher elevations due to the potential collapse of land. He believed that the Himalayas in Tibet and Nepal would offer safer refuge for Indians. Cayce also made less favorable predictions for Antarctica. He suggested that as the ice melted, the geological structure of the region would undergo drastic transformations, affecting global climate and altering weather patterns in unpredictable ways. Despite the extreme conditions, Antarctica is home to vibrant wildlife, including penguins, seals, whales, and seabirds. The ice sheet provides essential habitats and breeding areas, protecting many species from predators and ensuring access to food. However, Edgar Cayce predicted a dramatic transformation. Antarctica would lose its ice cover and turn into a vast green expanse, perfect for agriculture. On the other hand, Cayce foresaw a less favorable fate for Australia. He predicted that floods would cover a quarter of Australia's territory, submerging cities like Adelaide. Ironically, the arid deserts like Simpson and Gibson would transform into fertile agricultural lands. New Zealand, however, would emerge unscathed and might even expand, connecting to Australia and becoming a refuge for those displaced by global convulsions. In Europe, the predictions were equally dramatic. Cayce predicted that much of northern Europe, including Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark, would submerge, leaving only a fragmented archipelago of islands. The United Kingdom would also suffer, with vast areas from Scotland to the English Channel succumbing to rising sea levels. Although some highland areas, such as London and Birmingham, might remain intact, many regions would not escape the devastating changes. Ireland would be almost entirely swallowed by the ocean, leaving only the highest peaks above the waterline. For ocean enthusiasts, Cayce almost predicted an expansion of the terrestrial waters. A new sea would emerge from the merging of the Black and Baltic Seas, cutting Russia off from continental Europe and extending into Siberia. This would position Russia as Europe's granary, a fertile agricultural power. The change of North America's geography, and the most surprising part, was yet to come. If you think you've heard it all about Edgar Cayce's obsessions with continental drift, prepare for another astonishing prediction. He visualized a change in the geography of North America. According to Cayce, the coast of Canada would expand by an impressive 320 kilometers, transforming landscapes and habitats. Regions like Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and parts of Alberta would become safe havens for those displaced from Asia and Europe. Cayce predicted that the North American plate would move, creating a chain of nearly 150 new islands along the coast of California. This seismic displacement would push the West Coast eastward toward Nebraska, Wyoming, and Colorado. Regarding bodies of water, Cayce believed that the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence River would merge into a single gigantic lake flowing into the Gulf of Mexico. The east coast of the United States would face massive flooding from Maine to Florida, submerging vast areas. Mexico would not escape either, with its coasts submerged under rising seas. The Baja California Peninsula would fragment into a collection of islands. These dramatic changes could displace and potentially cause the death of billions of people. Even the peaceful rural lands of Kentucky would not be spared from the devastation. Human life expectancy. In addition to these catastrophes, Cayce predicted a dramatic extension of human life expectancy, with people living for several centuries. Although we live longer today than in Cayce's time, the idea of living for centuries still seems far from our current reality. According to Cayce, technology and medicine would assist in determining the length of human life beyond what is currently imagined. He stated, "Man should live much longer than has been ordinarily given, and will." His prediction implies that other such breakthroughs could solve problems related to aging, enabling people to enjoy better health and live longer lives. While we have seen improvements in healthcare that have increased lifespans compared to Cayce's time, living for centuries remains a drastic idea. It would mean not just adding years to life, but also maintaining good health over extended periods. Cayce's vision implies that future generations might enjoy a longer and better quality of life in their later years. This could lead to changes in how societies are structured, including retirement ages and healthcare systems. The idea challenges us to think about aging not as a process of decline, but as an opportunity for continued growth and contribution to society. While Cayce's specific timeframe and ways for achieving these longer lifespans remain uncertain and speculative, his vision encourages us to consider the possibilities of future medical advancements and their potential impact on human longevity. It makes us imagine a future where aging is viewed differently, with new opportunities and challenges for individuals and society as a whole. A major global conflict. One of his most alarming visions was of a major global conflict with the Persian Gulf as the ignition point. He suggested that countries like Libya, Egypt, Syria, and even the waters near Australia would experience active hostilities. Fortunately, a large-scale war has not yet begun. Perhaps the most unusual prediction involved China. Cayce predicted that China would rise to a position of global leadership. The origins of humanity. Cayce also made controversial predictions about the origins of humanity. He proposed that 5 distinct human races were created simultaneously in different parts of the Earth. His ideas continue to intrigue and challenge conventional perceptions about our origins and our future. He claimed that the white, black, red, brown, and yellow races emerged simultaneously, strategically placed around the globe by a divine power. Cayce alleged that the red peoples were descendants of the Atlanteans, residents of a lost continent called Lemuria. According to him, these peoples evolved and developed technology more rapidly than any other race. Additionally, Cayce maintained that Native Americans were directly related to the lost civilization of Atlantis, especially the Cherokee people. The history of the Cherokees dates back about 12,000 years, roughly the same period when Atlantis supposedly sank. According to Cayce, survivors from Atlantis fled to the Americas and became the Cherokees and Incas. He also believed in the existence of another lost land called Lemuria, located between Europe and the Americas. The inhabitants of Lemuria supposedly fled to Greece, founding the Minoan civilization and possibly sharing their advanced engineering skills with the Egyptians. In his visions, Cayce suggested that humanity continues to evolve from our current form. He proposed that there was a progressive evolutionary leap that began an impressive 18 million years ago when spirit transformed into matter. He also believed that humanity experienced a significant evolutionary leap between 10,000 BC and 3000 BC. Cayce's ideas about human evolution indicate a future with extraordinary advancements. According to him, a new phase of human progress began in 3000 BC and should continue into our current era, extending until 2004 AD. He predicted that we would achieve significant advancements in knowledge and understanding. Cayce predicted a dramatic transformation around 8000 AD, suggesting that by then, humans would have surpassed the limitations of their minds to the point where social structures, institutions, and even schools would become obsolete. In that future, humanity would evolve into a race of super-illuminated beings. The giant rise up. The United States is no stranger to high-profile assassinations and attempts, both on the lives of sitting U.S. presidents and presidential candidates. 4 former U.S. presidents, Abraham Lincoln, James Garfield, William McKinley, and John Kennedy, were killed during their presidential terms. A handful more survived failed attempts, including Donald Trump. In recent years, the number of threats issued against U.S. public officials has grown, according to a 2024 study conducted by researchers at the National Counterterrorism Innovation, Technology, and Education Center. The study, which examined federal charges over the past decade, found that threats have steadily risen over that time period, coinciding with a surge in political polarization across the country. Donald Trump is the Incredible Hulk. He is an unstoppable juggernaut. He is an irresistible force and an unmovable mountain. The Incredible Hulk is driven by the power of anger. He is a superhero possessed of prodigious strength who grows ever stronger the angrier he becomes. And you better believe he gets angry when under attack. Thus it is all but futile for all but the rarest few in the Marvel universe to pit their might against the green behemoth. The power of a wicked direct proportionality stands insurmountably on his side and against any who would dare to challenge him. On the 13th of July, 2024, an unfortunate incident happened to Trump at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. Thomas hit Trump in the upper right ear. The former president and presumptive nominee for the Republican Party collapsed for a number of seconds before rising, his face and ear speckled with bloodstains, to pump his fist in the air. Now, it is all but written in stone that no one can stop him. After Trump's fist raised in the air after the fateful moment, the American people's support for Trump seemed to be higher than ever. And will Trump meet the expectations of the American people with his vision, make the Americas grow again? And will this giant be the one to change the world economy as Cayce predicted? What happened to Trump presents an opportunity for Americans to come together and decide, is this really the kind of country that Americans want to build for the next generation? Kelly Clarkson said, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." Yes. There are some stories of fate sparing Donald Trump from certain death go back to 1989 and the helicopter crash he narrowly escaped. In 1989, Donald Trump, then 43, was supposed to join his executives on a helicopter ride from Trump Tower to his Atlantic City casino. Something came up, and he decided to go later. His top executives went ahead, then died when the copter crashed. He's somehow overcome threats ever since. 2 impeachments, investigations, arrests, legal prosecutions, and now a bullet all seem to backfire, strengthening rather than hurting Trump, but he also escaped death during that 1989 helicopter crash. This was the point at which I realized that Trump had been put on Earth for this larger purpose. Roger Stone wrote in his 2017 book, The Making of the President, 2016. This was the point that I realized he would be president. Trump. After the shooting, Trump posted on Truth Social that it was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening. He added, "Fear not." Reagan was similarly sure God had a plan for him, that he was spared from most of an assassin's 6 gunshots in 1981 because God had something more important planned for him. Look at the words from Trump's wife. Former First Lady Melania Trump wrote, "When I watched that violent bullet strike my husband, Donald, I realized my life, and Barron's life, was on the brink of devastating change. A monster who recognized my husband as an inhuman political machine attempted to wring out Donald's passion, his laughter, ingenuity, love of music, and inspiration," she stressed. "The core facets of my husband's life, his human side, were buried below the political machine. Donald, the generous and caring man who I have been with through the best of times and the worst of times." She called on all Americans to ascend above the hate, the vitriol, and the simple-minded ideas that ignite violence. We all want a world where respect is paramount, family is first, and love transcends. We can realize this world again. Each of us must demand to get it back. Trump raising his fist defiantly became the most iconic image of the 2024 campaign, and perhaps his long public life, telling the crowd 3 times to fight. He explained he saw the energy coming from the people there in that moment. They just stood there. It's hard to describe what that felt like, but I knew the world was looking. I knew that history would judge this, and I knew I had to let them know we are okay. Trump famously stopped the Secret Service agents trying to rush him off stage and told them, "Let me get my shoes." He's always cared about looking the part. His fist in the air photo is iconic. Trump quipped, "Usually you have to die to have an iconic picture." Donald Trump turned his head to look at a chart while speaking in Pennsylvania, and turning meant the bullet hit part of his ear. He was surprised by all the blood. 1 inch or less made all the difference between life and death for Trump. Trump added, "That reality is just setting in. I rarely look away from the crowd. Had I not done that in that moment, well, we would not be talking today, would we?" Americans want presidents to be strong superheroes. so getting shot and coming back is the ultimate sign of a bold destiny. The similarities between the stories and now the shootings of Trump are uncanny, proving the adage, "What doesn't kill me makes me stronger." Their stories of being shot and getting back up are at the heart of literature, pop culture, and some of American history's best-loved books and movies, which take their cue from biblical stories of birth, death, and resurrection. Such stories are how Americans turn political leaders into comic book heroes and idols. In Star Wars, the wise old Obi-Wan assures attackers, "If you strike me down, I will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine." Superman, an American mainstay since 1938, is faster than a speeding bullet. So is Trump. So Trump similarly astounded their adversaries by seeming to become stronger when attackers tried and failed to topple them. Many said Trump's optimism and new lease on life after the shooting were unbelievable. The Awakeness Year. Cayce foresaw some intriguing possibilities for 2024 that just might come to pass. While skeptics dismiss many of Cayce's prophecies, his supporters point to the accuracy of some of his predictions from decades past. The future is hard to predict, but Cayce's visions for 2024 give us plenty of food for thought about what may be in store just a few short years from now. The year 2024, according to Cayce, marks a pivotal moment in human history. It's described as an epoch where a collective awakening occurs the world. He believed that by 2024, humanity would experience a significant spiritual awakening, leading to a deeper connection with our inner selves and a greater awareness of our interconnectedness with all living beings. This prediction resonates with the increasing interest in mindfulness, meditation, and holistic well-being practices in our modern society. As scientific and technological advancements have dominated our collective focus, many have found themselves feeling increasingly disconnected from a sense of meaning and purpose in their lives. That is what Edgar Cayce saw long ago, and he believed that 2024 is the perfect time for everyone to awaken. We all need to seek out ways to reconnect with their inner selves and find greater fulfillment in life. Edgar Cayce also spoke about the awakening that people must experience after leaving this world. He told, "After death, we may enter a region that is void of love, life, and light, void of everything. For some, this region is approximately their wish come true. Here, they are truly alone with themselves. For some souls, this is a pain that is unbearable. In the absence of truth, love, gentleness, and kindness, some souls fill the void with an irrational and unbelievable amount of pain and fear. It is so dark in the realm of outer darkness that the darkness hurts, and panic grips them without knowing why. There are various degrees of darkness to this realm, and it is darker and denser at the center than at its outer fringes. The closer we are to the outer edges, the more interaction there is with others in the realm. The closer to the center, the darker and more painful is the solitude. Those who find themselves in outer darkness cannot travel across this dimension. They must grow through the levels of this realm. After death, one may find themselves in a particular degree of darkness that most closely corresponds to the degree of the absence of love in one's life. Outer darkness is not a punishment. It is a region which operates lawfully for the benefit of those who are there. This region is not a realm which was created for any soul to experience, but one which came about as a consequence of the negative activity of souls in creation. So great has been the desire for self, so monumental across time and space has been the selfishness of some of God's creatures, that this realm is the creation or manifestation of their own collective activities. Outer darkness and the reality with which it is associated were created and are held in place by collective self-interest. Being spiritually awakened means that an individual has had a profound shift in their understanding of themselves and the world around them. This awakening often comes after a period of feeling disconnected, lost, or unfulfilled in life. Interestingly, Some individuals report experiencing physical symptoms, such as a fever, during their spiritual awakening, signifying a kind of intense inner burning away of old beliefs and patterns. Spiritual awakening can happen suddenly or gradually, and it often involves a change in perception, a deepening of self-awareness, and a newfound sense of connection to a higher power, even amidst internal conflict. Spiritual awakening can take many forms and can be experienced in different ways by different people. Some common signs and symptoms of spiritual awakening can include a greater sense of empathy, compassion, and love towards others, an increased ability to live in the present moment, a deeper connection to nature and the universe, a heightened awareness of synchronicities and signs, and a sense of inner peace and contentment. Ultimately, being spiritually awakened means that an individual has come to a new level of understanding and awareness about themselves and the natural world. It's through this ascension process that you realize your potential and find the ability to change your life profoundly. In other words, they've had a spiritual ascension. Now, it's important to understand the difference between awakening and ascension. At the same time, spiritual awakening refers to the internal shift in consciousness that an individual experiences, leading to a profound change in their understanding of themselves and the world. Ascension, specifically 5D ascension, signifies an evolution beyond the physical reality into a realm of higher spiritual enlightenment and awareness. This spiritual ascension, often referred to as 5D ascension, signifies a shift from the three-dimensional physical reality to a five-dimensional realm of spiritual enlightenment and awareness. It often involves a newfound sense of purpose and direction in life, as well as a deepening of one's spiritual practices and beliefs. Following Edgar Cayce, the mind-body-spirit connection is very important. This perspective recognizes that the health of the body is intimately connected with the health of the mind and spirit, and vice versa. For example, stress or negative emotions can have physical effects on the body, while physical illness or injury can have a negative impact on mental and emotional well-being. In order to achieve holistic well-being, practitioners of spiritual psychology may work with individuals to address each aspect of the self. This may involve a variety of approaches, such as mindfulness practices to cultivate greater awareness of thoughts and emotions, physical exercise to improve physical health, and spiritual practices, such as prayer or meditation, to cultivate a sense of connection to a higher power. Through mindfulness practices, you may notice an increase of intense energy as your awareness heightens and you become more connected to your thoughts and emotions. The predictions fulfilled. Unlike other prophets of his time, his predictions covered a wide range of topics, from health and wellness to spirituality, past lives, ancient civilizations, and future technologies. The feats of the sleeping prophet were limitless. In 1902, a young woman with a severe head injury was brought to him. While doctors believed she would not survive, he nearly diagnosed that the real problem was in the spine, not the brain, and suggested that doctors adjust her spine. He read the human body like an X-ray machine, using medical terms with surprising accuracy. In a few months, the young woman showed great improvement. Edgar also used his gifts for the good of the economy. In 1929, foreseeing the imminent stock market crash, he warned his friends to sell their shares. Those who followed his advice managed to save large sums of money. People frequently asked Edgar about who would win a horse race or what would happen in the stock market, and he often responded, bringing profits to those who followed his advice. In one of those predictions, he was correct in saying that the economy would improve until 1930. In 1934, he predicted that Hitler would become an influential leader in Germany, which happened that same year. He also predicted that Hitler's rule would not last, and that a war coming from outside Germany would end his empire. He anticipated the outbreak of a significant war in the heart of Europe, and Germany started World War II, which led to the end of Hitler's reign. He was right in predicting that Germany, Austria, and Japan would form an alliance. Edgar also spoke about the existence of ruins of an ancient civilization under the ocean, near Bimini, in the Bahamas. In 1938, he suggested that this city was the legendary Atlantis, a super-advanced civilization. Curiously, in 1968, underwater structures were found in Bimini, which some researchers believe support Edgar's prophecies. He described Atlantis as a vast continent in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, with technology more advanced than ours, but which disappeared under the ocean about 10,000 years ago due to a great flood. Could this flood be the same one recorded in the Bible during the days of Noah? One of Edgar's most famous predictions was about the 44th president of the United States. He said that this president would be African American, which came true with the election of Barack Obama. Additionally, he was aware of the realities of the Cold War, predicting many of the challenges and tensions of the time. At the height of the Soviet Union's power, Edgar made a surprising statement. The hope of the world would come from Russia, not through communism, but through freedom. He claimed that this hope would take time, but that Russia would eventually free itself from communism, which came true with the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. Another impressive example involves the Jewish sect of the Essenes. In 1934, when little was known about them, Edgar provided detailed descriptions that were later proven accurate. He even predicted the discovery of their records and documents, which was confirmed only 12 years later with the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. All these impressive predictions of Edgar were fulfilled in the 20th century, and he also made some grim predictions for our times. Despite the skepticism, Cayce still has fervent defenders who highlight the accuracy of some of his diagnoses and advice to sick individuals, even without medical training. These controversies and debates about his predictions keep the curiosity and fascination for his figure alive to this day. Edgar Cayce's enduring legacy, fueled by widespread interest in psychic phenomena, continues to intrigue many. A recent survey revealed that many believe in some form of extrasensory perception or psychic ability. It also highlighted the difference between believers and skeptics. While skeptics tend to be more analytical and critical, believers generally have a more emotional and creative mindset. Interestingly, those who believe in psychic abilities reported experiencing greater happiness and lower levels of stress than skeptics. The enigma of psychic abilities and religious miracles has always fascinated humanity, especially because they challenge traditional scientific explanations. It is undeniable that such experiences can bring comfort to those who suffer, hope to those facing difficulties, and a sense of order in an often chaotic world. Although there is debate about the authenticity of his psychic abilities, Cayce's legacy reminds us that regardless of our personal beliefs about the paranormal, compassion and altruism have a profound and real impact. An interesting curiosity is why Edgar Cayce was called the Sleeping Prophet. This nickname arose because Cayce made his predictions and readings while appearing to be asleep, or rather, in a trance state. He would lie down, close his eyes, and still manage to speak about incredible things that seemed to come from another dimension. Now, think about the possibility of accessing parts of our minds that we normally don't use. Edgar Cayce showed that perhaps we all have a hidden ability to attain profound knowledge simply by changing the way we use our minds. If we learn to do this as Cayce did, imagine how many mysterious and interesting things we might discover about the world and ourselves. This makes us reflect on the incredible power that resides within each of us, waiting to be explored.